11. That is where this text, Food for Thought, is coming from. So go ahead and pause this video if you do not have your workbook, and then you may return once you have your materials ready. Out of the two nonfiction articles that we are going to examine and look at this week, this article is titled Food for Thought. And today we are going to focus again on some of those nonfiction text features and how they help the reader better understand the text, as well as the text structure. Remember that authors of nonfiction text organize the information using one of those 5 structures. We can see more than one text structure throughout a text. Again, those are problem solution, comparing and contrasting, description, sequence, and cause and effect. So let's jump right in. The first thing I want to do, I want to just skim this article. As I'm scrolling through, I want you to think, why would good readers take the time to skim through the text? So as we're looking through, we've seen now 2 different photographs, some captions, even a text box over here on the side. And as you've probably noticed, I'm going to scroll back up to the top, looking at those headings and then also the photographs. This article is most likely about school lunches. We can see right here in that text box, changes schools are making, and then we see right here that familiar lunch tray. So scroll back up to the top. So I asked you to think about, why would good readers skim the text? Well, I think we can all agree that when we go through and we preview or skim through a text, looking at some of those nonfiction text features, it kind of gives us an idea, like it sets a purpose for reading. We know basically what this article is going to be about. We have like the overall topic or the idea that we're going to be learning about. So I'm going to read for you this article. I want you to follow along. This is Food for Thought, Cafeteria Menus Shape Up. It's your favorite time of day. In the cafeteria line, you're on the hunt for hot dogs, but you can't find them anywhere. No fries or Hawaiian pizza are in sight either. Your stomach's growling. So what's on the menu today? Lighten up. School lunches aren't what they used to be. Before, you might have been able to fill your tray with food such as pizza, hot dogs, or fries. Now, your lunch tray is more likely to include foods like grilled chicken, whole wheat pasta, fresh fruits and vegetables, and low-fat yogurt. Your school isn't the only one that's changing its menu. Schools across the United States and around the world are replacing their high-fat, high-sugar lunches with healthier ones. More than half of elementary and secondary students in the United States eat lunches provided by their schools. The increase in health problems such as diabetes and obesity made many people look closely at what students were eating. Schools realized that healthier lunch options could help stop some of the health problems from getting worse. So a trend toward healthier lunches began. Finally, in 2012, the government released guidelines that require schools to serve meals that limit calories and include whole grains, fruits, and a variety of vegetables. I see the photograph with the lunch tray. It says here in this caption, it's a little blurry, a healthy lunch includes a variety of tasty foods. Food for focus. Research shows that food affects your concentration. Remember, that's our ability to stay focused. Eating a healthy meal may help you to focus better on your schoolwork. Here are some food facts for thought. Although foods high in sugar, such as soda and cookies, will give you an energy boost, it won't last long. It's better to eat foods such as whole wheat bread, whole wheat pasta, and fresh fruit. These foods help keep your energy level consistent all day. Your brain does need a good supply of fat to work well, but not the kind of fat found in foods such as cheeseburgers and hot dogs. By eating foods containing healthier fats like fish, nuts, and seeds, you'll be helping to keep your brain in good shape. Chocolate and many sodas contain caffeine, which can give you energy, but also leave you feeling jittery. That's where you kind of like shake and you feel uneasy, making it hard to concentrate on your work. Switching from eating high-fat, high-sugar foods to healthier choices might not be easy, but the benefits are certain. You'll have more energy to get you through the day and the ability to concentrate when you need to. Now we're looking right here at this text box. Changes schools are making. In school cafeterias across the United States, healthy foods have replaced foods high in sugar and fat. Here are some simple changes schools are making to provide healthy and delicious lunches for their students. Increasing whole grains. Replacing foods made with white flour, such as white bread, flour tortillas, and saltine crackers, with foods made from whole grains, such as whole wheat or rye bread, whole wheat tortillas, and whole grain crackers. Replacing white rice with brown rice, wild rice, or quinoa. Reducing sugar. Replacing chocolate milk with plain low-fat milk. Replacing canned fruit with fresh fruit. And finally, reducing unhealthy fat. Replacing deep-fried foods like chicken nuggets and French fries with roasted chicken and root vegetables such as sweet potatoes, parsnips, carrots, and rutabagas. Replacing potato chips and onion dip with raw vegetables and hummus dip. After you skimmed through this text, before we started reading, now after we finished reading, did this article, did it include some of the information that maybe you expected after you skimmed through the text the first time? Think for a moment. If you have someone next to you, you can turn and talk, or just think to yourself. Did the article include what you expected? Were there any things, or was there any information that maybe surprised you? Maybe those helped us to better understand the article. We looked at some of the headings, we talked about that text box, and really we focused on, as good readers, we skim through the text before we even begin. And so therefore we found that we actually had a pretty good idea of what might be included in this article before we even started reading, just based on the photographs, the captions, and even the title and the headings. But now I want to shift gears for a moment, and I want us to think about the text structure. We're going to focus on this section right here with this heading, Lighten Up. And if we remember from reading the text just a few moments ago, this section talks about how school lunches have changed, not just in our school, but in schools across the United States. Now, if we remember correctly, there are 5 text structures, or ways that authors can organize a nonfiction text. Those include problem and solution, comparing and contrasting, description, describing something, sequence, and cause and effect. We've already gone through and talked about those 5 text structures in detail with Mrs. Connor. Remember, you created that anchor chart in your ELA notebook. So now we're going to look at this section and work together to determine what the text structure is and evidence to support our thinking. Well, you guys learned that sometimes you can rely on keywords. I know that for comparing and contrasting, for example, you might see words like alike or different, however, or similar. Words like first, next, then last, finally, might signal to the reader that this is a sequence of events, text structure. Let's look again at Lighten Up. We're going to reread this section and we're going to see if we can determine the structure of this section of the text. School lunches aren't what they used to be. Before, you might have been able to fill your tray with foods such as pizza, hot dogs, or fries. Now your lunch tray is more likely to include foods like grilled chicken, whole wheat pasta, fresh fruits and vegetables, and low-fat yogurt. Your school isn't the only one that's changing its menu. Schools across the United States and around the world are replacing their high-fat, high-sugar lunches with healthier ones. More than half of elementary and secondary students in the United States eat lunches provided by their schools. The increase in health problems such as diabetes, and obesity, both caused from being overweight, made many people look closely at what students were eating. Schools realized that healthier lunch options could help stop some of the health problems from getting worse. So, a trend toward healthier lunches began. Finally, in 2012, the government released guidelines that require schools to serve meals that limit calories and include whole grains, fruits, and a variety of vegetables. So, there's actually 3 things here that I'm assuming are probably going through your mind right now. Right away, I saw the keyword finally and a date. So to me, I'm assuming that many of you are thinking sequence. There are probably some of you that are thinking, maybe this could be problem and solution. Like there's a problem going on and we found a solution. And some people might be thinking, well, I think it's cause and effect. Like the cause was that, people are suffering from obesity and even diabetes. And so what they've determined or what they've changed is that, what effect did this have on lunches? Well, now they're changing to try to provide healthier lunch options. So there are 2 there that sound pretty reasonable and 1 that really does not work. And I want you to think for a moment. Out of those 3, problem and solution, cause and effect, and sequence of events, which one really doesn't make sense? If you said sequence of events, you are correct. So we're not really sequencing anything here. It's not really discussing or focusing on how, in the order that schools changed lunches. That's not so much the sequence. It did give you finally here a date where the government did release those guidelines, but that's not the overall structure. Right now, I would assume that everyone is debating between cause and effect or problem and solution. After reading through this section of the text, I would determine, in my brain, I would think of this as cause and effect. Now, if you are determined that this is problem and solution and you can provide evidence to support your thinking, then that is okay. So now we're actually going to switch from the copy of our text over to our graphic organizer. Our graphic organizer. Just for this section from the text, Food for Thought, again, the section was Lighten Up. We've reread that section of the text, and again, we've made the decision that this really could fit both problem and solution, as well as cause and effect. However, we have to make a decision. In my brain, I am thinking that the text structure of this section, Lighten Up, is cause and effect. Now, if you were absolutely determined and certain that you believe the text structure was problem and solution, if you can provide evidence that supports your thinking, then you are also correct. I am going to use that language frame we used yesterday, saying, I know that the text structure of this section is cause and effect because now I have to include my own thinking. Well, I know that school lunches have changed and now they're healthier, and so what was the cause of that happening? Well, I remember reading that children are starting to suffer from diabetes and even obesity. So now in my own words, I want to kind of recap that information. I know that the text structure of this section is cause and effect because school lunches have changed to healthier options after students became unhealthy and suffering from diabetes and obesity. So again, that was the cause for school lunches changing. Okay, great job. Tomorrow we're actually going to go back to the text, tying the score, and you are going to have an opportunity now to do the same work that we have done, where you will look at one of the sections and determine the text structure and provide evidence for your thinking. Great job.